Okay. All right. Welcome to our live stream this Wednesday evening on the Living Fort Wayne channel. I brought a special guest today, Candace Smith from Angola, Indiana, which is north of Fort Wayne. But today we have a very, anybody saw the news today, we had the Fed, they lowered the rate down by half a point. I don't even want to mess it up because I'm probably saying the headline wrong. And I text Candace earlier today because we already had this plan, and she's a mortgage lender. She's been in the mortgage game for a really long time. So I was like, hey, this is great because we were going to talk about this. And so I'm just going to lead in first and just jump straight into it. First, Candace, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into that part.
Sure. So I'm Candace Smith. I work with Hallmark Home Mortgage, which is right there in Fort Wayne. I have been in finance over 20 years of my career. I started off as a financial advisor doing stocks, bonds, mutual funds, all thing numbers. And then I switched to mortgages, which I absolutely love. And so, yes, going into this live, we are going to talk about the Fed fund rate. What happened? How does it affect mortgage rates? What does it actually affect? There's a huge misconception when it comes to the federal fund rate. So one, Jerome Powell said, yes, they are cutting interest rates by 50 basis points. What is a basis points? Most people don't understand what that is. 100 basis points basically means 1%. So if they said rate cut of 50 basis points, that's 0.5% decrease in interest rates. Now, what did it do to mortgage rates today? Mortgage rates actually worsened. They went up.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, right?
They know. Okay, pause. So first off, where is, as of September 18th, 2024, I think we were at high sixes right now, right? 6, 8, something like that.
Yes.
Okay, and you're saying that they went a smidge up.
Yes, they went a smidge up.
All right, but they're coming down, right?
They have. So at least of the last 6 weeks to 9 weeks, the mortgage-backed securities were already trending, lowering their interest rates in anticipation of this.
Okay, stop right there. I got to ask, because see, I got to get an understanding. When you say mortgage-backed securities, because I think of that movie with, you remember the movie The Big Short? And so mortgage-backed securities, I hate to get high level with this, but like just for my own knowledge, because when we see this today, you saw what I texted you earlier. I was like, oh, this is great so a mortgage-backed security, without getting too nerdy on us.
Sure.
How does the basis point for the Fed affect your mortgage-backed securities?
So if you think of investing in the stock market, so you can invest in bonds, which are safe. You can invest in CDs. You can buy stocks, Amazon, Google. There's also something you can invest in called mortgage-backed securities, which is basically, think of like landlords out there. It's a pool of investors that buy up mortgages and they use that as an investment. So they're betting on these mortgages are going to be, basically all these tenants are going to pay their rents on time, and then in return, they get interest back on that security, which is called mortgage-backed securities. So it's an investment.
Right. Okay. So if they lower that, the Fed rate, we should start to see down the line the repercussions from that is we're going to, because I was talking to a bunch of realtors. I mean, you've dealt with realtors, and there's a knowledge gap there between us and you guys. That's why we always tell clients to refer to you guys, because you're the expert. Will we see 5.5 because of this? That's what we want to know. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. So the Fed rate does not directly affect mortgage rates. Mortgage rates follow the 10-year treasury. So the federal fund rate, to explain it and kind of dumb it down so that the normal person can understand it, it's the overnight rate that banks lend to each other. So the Chases and Wells Fargo of the world. So when they lower that 0.5% interest rate, they're basically saying, all right, Wells Fargo to Chase, you're going to lower the interest rate, so then they can in turn lower rates to us. Now that doesn't include mortgages. That is your credit cards. That is your auto loan payments. So, this past year you probably paid 8% on an auto loan. What the Fed fund rate is doing is lowering those rates by 0.5%. That also includes home equity line of credits. So that's like a second mortgage on your first mortgage.
Mm.
It does not directly affect mortgages. Mortgages follow the Treasury, which
Okay.
also is correlated to inflation. So it's like inflation and the Treasury are what drive mortgages. The Fed fund rate drive your CDs, your savings account, how much you get paid on it, your money markets, your auto loans, your credit cards.
Right. So the second part of my question was, are we going to see 5.5? Because the reason I'm only asking that, obviously, because I care about buyers. There's been a lot of right now. I mean, we've been hearing it for how long now? They said that the rate was going to be cut at the beginning of the year. That never happened. They said this
Yes.
is the biggest cut since 2020, since the pandemic. There's two types of people in the market. You've got people who have been waiting on the sidelines, hoping that rates will come down so they can get more buying power back. And then you also have current homeowners who are sitting on, I think 80% of all homeowners have 3% or less, or maybe 4% or less. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of people, the sticker shock between the rising home prices. So home prices are higher at 7%. And what we're hoping is to bring in obviously more buyers, but not so much where it floods the market like we were in 2021. You know what I mean?
Sure. So can you see my screen now?
Can I? Oh, I gotta add it. Hold on. Oh yeah, you always bring the cool graphics. Can you see? Okay, that's
Yep.
your graphic. Okay.
So for example, if you just go on to mortgagenewsdaily.com, anybody can see this. Will we see 5.5% by the end of this year? I don't believe so, not without paying points, meaning you have to buy that interest rate down. Now, if you just scroll down here, and I show this to my clients, because when they hear the news, they hear, oh, rates are 5% right now. They could get 5.5%. Well, sure, you can, but what these lenders are not sharing with you is there's a cost to get that rate. And so when you give them a call and say, hey, Mr. Bank, what are rates today? There's like 23 different things that actually go into a mortgage rate. How much you're putting down, what your credit score is, what type of house, where it's located. And so this generic rate, so you see this beautiful rate here, right? Like, oh, this mortgage company is saying they can do this rate at 5.25. But in this little small print here, when you click on it, this is the points that you pay to get that interest rate. So their real interest rate is probably 6.5, but they don't want to show you that because that's not enticing. That's not going to sell you to go to them, right? So they're like, oh, we'll give you 5.25%. But in the small print, you can see here with the points and fees, it's going to cost you $7,000 to get that interest rate, right?
Okay, pause. Bring that clip back up just really quickly, because in my head, I like that. So let's just say, yeah, thank you for zooming in. Oh, and it's represented by Veterans United. There you go. It's saying 740 to 750 credit score. So you got to have a good credit score, and then your lender fee. So about 7.5. 7.5. That's not bad though, right? If you wanted to buy it down about that far, would you recommend that to people to look into buying down the rate? Or I don't want to put you on the spot, but
No. So I always do a break-even point. So we as lenders can calculate how much in points you're paying to the break-even point
the
is if you were
tipping
just
point.
to keep. Yes. And because I was a financial advisor in the past, it's very rare that I recommend that you buy down the interest rate, especially because we know we're going to start seeing rates come down. Well, what if that rate comes down lower than what you just paid that $7,000? Do you know what happens to that $7,000?
No.
It goes in the trash. The lender gets to keep it. It doesn't get applied towards your principal. So then when you go to refinance and pay $2,000 or $3,000 to refinance to get 5.5% that everybody wants to see, you basically threw that money away.
Okay.
So it only makes sense in certain situations, and everybody's situation is different. So it's hard to say as a blanket, do you buy points? Now, if you could buy 4% today for $2,000, 100%, everybody's signing up for that. But that's not the case. It'll cost you more like $10,000 to get 4%. And that's going to take you 11 years to break even. And most people are only in their house 7 years.
Right.
So in that case, no, it doesn't make sense.
So what are you seeing in the market right now as far as mortgage applications and like some of the things that a lot of questions for buyers that when it comes down to the interest rate?
So I've actually seen a huge increase in loan applications in the last 2 weeks. One being interest rates are slowly coming down. So from this time last year, we were seeing 8% to today, we're seeing high sixes. You might get 6.5, but you're putting 25 to 30% down, which most Americans can afford with inflation. I mean, you're spending $800 a month in groceries to feed your family. Your car payment's $1,000 a month. Most people don't have 30% to put down on a loan to get that 6.5%. So yes, there is more applications coming in. And I also think it's historic that around Labor Day, once you get through the holidays, people get more serious again. So
Right.
between Labor Day and before Thanksgiving, we do see an increase historically.
Yeah. Yeah, I do disagree with some of those numbers. $1,000 for a car payment. I mean, are people paying
Oh,
$1,000 for a
average.
car payment?
Yes, if you Google the average car payment, it's around $1,000, which is crazy
Okay.
to me.
I don't want to bet you, but I think it's closer to 650. But
Okay, we should
I'm
call at the end of the
you
slide if we have time.
you could, yeah, write that down. We're gonna come back to that. We're gonna see
Okay, okay.
who's got the knowledge on that. Okay, so we're starting to see more people come back to the market. I could say on the real estate side, and I'm not sure how much you pay attention to. I know you basically work on the loans, but I'm seeing a lot of price reductions. I'm seeing homes stay on the market a little bit longer. But here's the thing about the housing market. If it's a nice house and it's priced right, it won't last. It won't, it's just not going to last. Like, so I think a lot of people are like, okay, because you'll hear people say, why is, when I have buyers like, why is this home sitting? I'm like, oh, and that's just about, they're sitting a little longer, right? It takes a little bit longer for somebody to find the house that they're looking for, number one. But when it's a perfect house, I'm talking not perfect, but there are some listing agents like me and my wife and a couple other realtors I know that they do all the little things to that house, and then they price it at a point where that buyer will come in and they're like, oh man, I paid 20 grand more for that house. You see what I'm saying? And then they get in the multiple bid situation. So I think a lot of times buyers want top dollar, but their house isn't in top dollar shape, and the house ends up sitting. God forbid that they go under contract for something and then it falls out of contract for some reason. Either the
Mhm.
buyer's finances fell out or there was a inspection thing they couldn't agree on. Now they end up losing every time that house comes back to the market. There's almost nothing you can do unless it was multiple bid the first time. Like you're going to lose money just because now it's, you waited through the contingency period. It was what, 2, 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. So it's been on the market, going on 40 some odd days. In this market, it's not like that. So I see that's what I see from buyers. I see as they go into the market, they're seeing homes. I think I see price reductions on probably, I can't give a percentage, but it's much higher than what it used to be. What have you noticed?
So I have a question for you actually. So during COVID, people were offering 20, 30,000 over asking price and they were waiving inspections.
Hmm.
Are you still seeing that today with the waiving inspections, or do they feel like they have a little bit more time to look at the home, purchase it, and order those inspections? Because to me, that is crazy that people waive inspections. I personally, I don't think I would ever buy a house without waiving inspections. I know some people do. And have you seen anybody have regrets of not getting an inspection and now they're like, you know what, we felt rushed. Now we want to sell this one and go to the next one.
So the inspection thing, I think we've in my whole career only one person, even during the pandemic, because we tell them unless they insist on. I think that person insisted on us like, you're not you're not losing anything with the inspection. And even though it was, I mean, I was a newer agent during the pandemic, but this year I have not had a single waived inspection. The
Yeah.
only time that it even comes into question where I'm like, yeah, maybe is if the house, for some reason, somebody purchased a house and then they had to leave, and it's like, okay, it's a new construction, it's a new build, it's under warranty, so you have that 1, 2, and 10 warranty. So I'm like, oh, you still got the warranty and stuff like that. So no, nobody's waiving this. None of our buyers are waiving inspection, and like you said, it's just too risky, right? It's too risky that you're going to inherit problem. Like here's the number one thing that people ask about is the age of the roof, right? And then
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, the buyer who bought the house doesn't know the age of the roof. And then, so you
Yeah.
ask them, well, how long have you been living here? It's like, oh, I've been living here for 15 years. So I'm like, okay, so the age of the roof is at least this much. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So again, going back to home staying on the market for a little bit longer and price reductions, the buyer has every right. It's still a seller's market, but it's not so much of a seller's market that the buyer's not going to do their due diligence. It's more of you're probably going to get less in concessions. You see what I'm saying? Like, matter of fact, you won't get much. I won't say you won't get less. They'll let you get the inspection, but they're like, look, I'll give you a home warranty, and I'll give you, $1,000 or $2,000 for X, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question, but we're definitely getting. I'm not saying the sellers are conceding much, but yeah, we get the inspection back and just have the conversation. You have to have the back and forth with, okay, this was pointed out. Can we get a quote on it? And then, and I'll have the conversation, especially we have the FISBO right now. And I say, hey, look, the buyer is, they need to know what they're getting into. I can't have them not know that what's going on with this house is, could be $20,000 in repairs, and you're asking them to buy the house at the asking price that you're looking for, plus incur $20,000 worth of repairs. That's not fair. You know what I'm saying? And there, most of the time, people are understanding, if that makes sense. So we're not in a situation like we were in 2021 at all, as a matter of fact.
So I had a client early this week ask me how old the roof was. She's under contract. We're closing literally this Friday. And I stated, well, an appraiser doesn't give us that information. Did you get a home inspection? Because as lenders, we don't see the home inspection. So we don't know if you do get one or not. I mean, it says on your contract whether you're allowed to have one, but we as lenders never see it. We only require the appraisal. And so what's interesting is she was like, no, I waived the inspection. I wanted to save money, but I'm curious and concerned about the roof. And I was like, girl, that's what the inspection does. That tells you the age of the roof. You're not going to get that from the appraiser. The appraiser just looks at, naked to the eye stuff.
Yeah, so that
goes in and gets all of it.
That makes me kind of frustrated with people on my side, because I'm like, I just don't see how anybody get away with that. Like, I'm like, okay, if anybody's watching this, never waive the inspection. I'm just gonna say it. Can I officially say that? Candace, you agree? Never waive the inspection.
I agree. I would never waive.
It's like, and as a matter of fact, if the person that you're working with suggests that you waive your inspection, you need to walk away. Okay, but seriously, you cannot see what's behind the walls. Okay, and if you're a first-time home buyer, I think it's very easy. I mean, I remember when I bought my first house. I mean, it's like buying your first car. Like, you really don't know all the little things that are. I mean, my furnace, I didn't even know how to work my furnace. Like, it went out. The pilot light went out, and I'm like, oh, it's the first, like a couple of winters, and I'm like, why is it? And I called the guy, and he's like, yeah, I just need to light the thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and he charged me for that. So just imagine how many times. And I've heard these horror stories all the time. So I always say, look, there's absolutely no way, under no circumstances ever, are we waiving the inspection. Because here's another thing. I'm a competitive person, and I'm not going to lie. I'm trying to get something out of the seller anyway, because I want the experience to be really good for my buyer. So I'm like, yeah, let's go ahead and get that inspection. I'm like, hey, I don't know, man. It didn't get hot enough, man. My buyers like hot showers, man. So we're gonna need somebody to come look at the furnace or the hot water heater. And yeah, we're asking for $1,000 to fix that.
And I would even say, even new construction, have a separate inspector come in. I just built a house, and even though they have a final inspector goes through, make sure the builder's doing everything correctly, you don't know if that inspector is working for the builder. Are they doing their due diligence? And I paid for a separate inspector, and they found several things. And I'm so grateful that tiny little fee that I paid saved me in the long run.
How much? An inspection is like $200. It's like, I think it's $150 to $300.
But it's not expensive.
Actually, no, I take that back. We found out there's an inspector here. There's about $800. I was like, okay, well, does that come with a sewer screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but think about it. From that $200 to $800 will save you. Yeah. It's a no-brainer. So, the roof situation, I think that's a little bit tricky, right? Because you can get the inspection, and the inspectors can be super general, right? So now we could take it to the next level where they say there's no detectable defects, but we would refer to an outside contractor. And so some people will go that far, right? They'll get the inspection, and they're like, well, should we consult someone? And then they say no. And I'm like, now you're depending upon your representation, your realtor, to use their expert knowledge to say whether or not you should get a quote for the roof. And that was tough, because I just learned this the other day, how much life does the roof have to have remaining for it to be underwritten or to go through on a convention on FHA?
So historically, what we've seen is at least 2 to 3 years minimum.
2 to 3. So think about it though. If you're a first time home buyer and they're like, oh yeah, you got about 3 years worth of good use on this, you're gonna be like, what? You're gonna be like, no, that's not good enough. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
so
And historically, FHA buyers like the FHA loan because they can put a lot less down because they don't have the funds. And if you have to replace your roof in 2 years, I mean, that's $10,000.
it's 10,000. What? 10? Really? No, it's not.
Well, it depends how big your house is.
We just went to Graber Roofing just to replace about the rubber on it, like on one particular
Yeah.
side. It's $14,000. I would say it's close to like 15.
You live in a mansion?
No, for my buyer.
Oh, okay.
No, but
Yeah.
the house they're buying is 3,000 square foot on the main, 3,000 in the basement. So 6,000 total
Okay.
livable square feet. But the roof is pretty high. But yeah, that one's critical. But anyway, I think we beat that one to a pulp.
Okay. So have you seen many contracts coming in with seller concessions?
See that's the thing. I work on the buy side a lot, so we try to get stuff out of our sellers. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm telling you, I know when I'm sitting across from like who I'm going up against. I'm like, oh, I could probably get some out of them. You know what I mean? Like even if I,
Yeah.
and then other people, I'm like, oh, they're gonna tell me to take a hike. You know what I mean? But to answer that question, it just depends. Older houses, I always skew more to trying to get something out of them because there's probably always going to be something, and I want them to have, oh, well, we got $2,000 or $3,000
Mm-hmm.
to go towards that. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I want them to have a positive experience. The worst thing you want is to move into a house and then all of a sudden you have to worry about there's a leak in the bathroom or there's a leak in the basement. You know what I mean? And so I want to make sure that we did our due diligence. So I kind of go overboard. If it's a higher end house, upwards of like high fours, it depends on what price they asked for and what they accepted, right? So if they had to reduce the price, less likely to give up concessions. If you give them what they ask, then you best believe if anything comes up, we're gonna ask for something. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much how it is. Like you already asked for a $15,000 price reduction.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough to get them to come to the table to fix the fan in the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like it's not gonna happen.
So we've tried to do some strategies with using those seller concessions to do an interest rate reduction because interest rates are still high compared to the last 5 years, not historically. People have been sitting on the sidelines because they don't want that expensive payment. And if you can get $2,000, $5,000 from that seller, if we could do an interest rate reduction to temporarily get you through the next year or two to where you can refinance and afford that lower payment, it's a win-win for all parties. And it also brings more buyers to that seller's listing, knowing that they could do that because it's more affordable for them.
Yeah. Also, I have to reset this. This is my third live. So, hey, if you guys are watching this, we are talking about the Fed rate cut that happened earlier today. It was announced by Jerome Powell. I think it was earlier this morning. I'm here with Candace Smith she's from a city called Angola, which is north of Fort Wayne. They got a university up there. I think they got a soccer team or something. And so she's joined us to talk about how that's going to impact just buyers and sellers, current homeowners. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and we'll get around to it. But the second thing I wanted to go into was I want to get away from real estate. Since I have you, my channel on YouTube is Living in Fort Wayne. A lot of people don't. We've talked about this the first time we met, which is as far as not knowing much about Northeast Indiana. So can you tell me like your opinion of Northeast Indiana and like, what do you like about it and all that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I have a family. I have 2 boys that go to schools here locally. We could have chosen anywhere to live. The reason I like this area is one, safety. I feel so safe. My kids can walk around the neighborhood, they can ride their bikes. There's not an area that I don't feel safe my kids going. I love that if you want to see a little bit of city, we'll have date night downtown Fort Wayne where everything's happening. You can go to a comedy club. You can have nice fancy dinner, but then also you want to hang out on the lakes. There's 101 lakes in Steuben County, which is just 30 minutes north of Fort Wayne. You can go out, take your kids tubing. We have a huge state park right here in Angola where you can ride horses. There's a toboggan sled. Have you ever been tobogganing?
You're talking about the thing like for Christmas when you go down the big hill? That's a toboggan.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. It goes like 40 miles an hour, and it doesn't sound fast, but when you're sitting on a skinny little sled, it's pretty intimidating. So yeah,
What are you toboggan at exactly?
tobogganing.
No,
It's
where? Where at?
Pokagon State Park, which
Oh,
is
okay.
located right on Lake James. So you
Mhm.
could literally go ice fishing, hit the toboggan, go ride horses. There's several breweries in this area. There's several wineries. I'm a wino myself. So, I mean, we have a
Did you
lot.
just call you're a wino? Is that what you
Oh,
said?
I love wine.
So actually, I just want to let you know that I forfeited my brokerage's meeting there at Country Heritage right now because I had a 6 o'clock. It started at 6. So just let you know, I turned
Ooh.
down the opportunity. You've been to Country Heritage, right?
Oh yeah, it's a great place. And that's very beautiful with the pond and the koi fish, the
Mm,
scenery. They have those barrels that are turned into chairs out by the fire pits. I love it.
yeah, live music. I'm a big fan of live music. So yeah, okay. So
Have
yeah,
you been to the Vineyard? That's the newest one.
sorry.
The Vineyard. That's on the north side over by Parkview.
What is that?
It's a winery that looks similar as far as the outdoor feel to Country Heritage, but the building itself has a very modern, contemporary vibe, and it has really good food.
Where is this at?
The Vineyard. So off of Union Chapel,
Oh,
the road right past where you would go to Parkview, but you just go to the next road
yeah.
instead.
No, I hadn't. No, I hadn't. How long has that been there?
Oh, I'd say about a year now, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
not
No. Yeah. You are a wino. I don't know
yeah.
anything about that. So one of the things that's going on this weekend, I talked to, I've been talking to everybody for it. So this weekend is what's it called? The Johnny Appleseed Fest.
Yes.
So you're going?
So my father-in-law is flying in from the Carolinas, and he loves all things small little town get-togethers, and the food there, everybody says is amazing. I personally haven't went, so I'm down to get some apple fritters or whatever they have out there. And my father-in-law is a foodie, so we're gonna eat our way through that little Appleseed Festival.
Okay. All right. So you already heard about the chicken and dumplings, right?
Oh, I make a mean chicken dumpling, but I love chicken.
No, I'm talking about at the Johnny Appleseed Fest.
I know, but I would love to try theirs because mine's pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. So that's the one. I think that's the one where I told Ben last week, Ben Crenshaw. You know, Ben, you don't know anybody down here, do you?
It depends. I mean, I know most of the real estate agents, but
Yeah. So Ben, I was telling him because he's going for the first time. I was like, the chicken and dumpling line is the longest, but they got like the sarsaparilla, which is it's just root beer, and they put it. I still have the bottle from last year, and it's like an old school bottle. They have a lot of vendors there. They'll have, they take it back to that era. I'm pretty sure you read about it, and then they'll do like they
little
have
hay rides or something.
the what?
But they do hay rides, like little.
What's a hay ride?
Get out of here!
You ride hay. Hay doesn't roll. There's no wheels on hay. What are you talking
No, it either is pulled by a tractor,
about?
and you sit in the back of a big wagon, and there's bales of hay, or it's pulled by a horse-drawn carriage, and you sit in the back with the hay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're from big city.
I'm-
So we do in Indiana. No, we do. You're from Texas.
That doesn't make sense. You're saying that because I've never been on a hayride and I'm from a big city. I'm from middle America, like
Texas,
Columbia,
right?
Columbia, South Carolina. Well, I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. So Columbia is like 300,000, 330 now. It's probably like 290 back in the day. So yeah, but no, they don't have hay everywhere. Believe it or not.
Okay, well, I feel
but
like anybody that's lived in Indiana has definitely had a hayride.
yeah, well, yeah, well. Anyway, they have so they have vendors. They'll have like homemade what's that stuff? It's like fudge, like the
Oh yeah.
fudges and just a bunch of different craft stuff. So we do and the other thing we do is they have like some fried chicken and an apple. Everything they have a bunch of apple seasoned things that you would never see in other places. So like you said, apple fritters and stuff like that. So
Apple dumpling, that's my favorite.
dumplings are apple dumplings.
Apple dumpling.
Uh, okay. Well,
You never had that either? Think of it as a pie that encloses a whole apple, but it's pie crust around it, and then they put a scoop of vanilla ice cream on it. You're gonna have to. You gotta go this
that
weekend.
doesn't sound like a dumpling. Dumpling is like a fried dough. So just throwing it out there.
It is with mashed potatoes. I've had that too.
Yeah,
But
but what does that
apple
have?
dumpling is
That
literally
sounds like a
pie crust around apple.
that sounds like apple a la mode or something. Like, you go to like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, apple pie. I don't know. Anyway, so we're gonna go to this weekend. We're gonna do some stuff out there. It's gonna be pretty cool. They got the like a band, but it's got the bagpipes with the drums. I don't know what it's called, but they're pretty cool. They do a little, and they just march around for about. It's 2 days, so Saturday, Sunday. So good luck with that. But anyway, one thing else I'll say about Angola before we go, because I actually I don't know anyone that lives in Angola. Land of the many lakes. So you got Lake James. What other lakes you got up there?
There's 101 lakes in the whole county, but the main one that made the news during COVID because all the boaters were tired of it. It's a huge sandbar. So Lake James is the big party chain lakes that has 4 additional lakes connected. So it's like little gators that go out. So it's Lake James, Jimerson, Snow, Big Otter, Little Otter, all connected. But Lake James has a big barge out there for food. They have bands, live bands out there. They do a nighttime sandbar party where your boats are all lit up with lights. People wear glow paint. They were on the news during COVID because like 300 boats were out there, and they started social distancing, but by the end of it, with all the drinks flowing,
Of course,
hanging out, sharing drinks.
we didn't really observe social distancing, and from what I remember, it was like maybe a month. I mean, they opened the gyms up during that period of time. I mean, it's barely any type of real. I always would forget because we go to Indy, right? We got an Indy for something. I go to the gas station. I'm getting yelled at. Like, where's your mask? I'm like, what mask? I'm like, oh, we're into the thing. Forgot about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, we keep saying that we're going to go up there, but I just keep forgetting to do so. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I drive through, but
you can do the state park. There's a buffalo preserve. So have you ever been around Big Buffalo?
Like an actual buffalo?
Yeah. Like
how about you just ask me? Don't ask me any questions hey, buffaloes.
Apple Dublin.
Yeah, just the answer's no.
You know I'm from Indiana when I tell you all these things. So we have a big buffalo preserve that you can ride in the back of the truck, or you can ride a horse, go out in the fields. They let them let them live freely. They roam, and then when they pass away, they allow the buffalo to say their goodbyes to the buffalo that passed away, and then they slaughter it, and then you can buy the bison. So you can buy bison burger, which is extremely lean, kind of like a deer.
Right.
So you can check that out when you're up here too. That's up here in Angola, Fremont area. We got a racetrack. You like racing? We have a speedway where nighttime racing.
They used to have a speedway down by the airport. They closed down. I'm not sure if you remember. I don't know if you know anything about it, but it was the only speedway here for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to work at the airport, and so I was air traffic controller in the tower. So I would see them racing all the time, like all night. And so they have different categories, right? This kind of car, that kind of car, blah 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 blah, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I've been. It's very loud. It's very loud.
It is.
Yeah, but anyway, so well, again, I thank you for explaining everything with the Fed stuff. Before you go, just tell people how they can. Just tell them. I don't know if you focused on your actual company and what you do.
Oh,
and actually, yeah, and we didn't get a chance because I know you talked to me about a whole bunch of other stuff, and I didn't know if we were going to get into like some of the program. Did you want to do that real quick or?
Yeah, I mean, I can give you a brief overview. So Hallmark Home Mortgage, amazing company. They're locally owned. Debster just started the company about 20 years ago when Waterfield went under. And we have in-house programs. So if you're looking to buy a house that needs some repairs, so there's houses out there that you try to go FHA and the appraisal comes back, inspection report comes back and says, nope, this can't go FHA. Well, we have an in-house toolbox loan that allows you to purchase the house within 30 days, but then have the repairs completed within 3 to 6 months, and then wrap it all into one loan. So that's a special feature that Hallmark has that has saved a lot of deals that I would recommend. Then we have, the traditional FHA, VA, all of those. We do have a new Dream Cash Buy program. So when you are in a competitive offer, if you have a house that hasn't sold and you're not sure it'll sell in time, it's basically a cash offer where we have an investor that goes in, and if you still haven't sold your house and you can't qualify without having it sold, they pay cash, they close it, put it in their own name, and then they charge you 2% more interest than whatever the current rate is today until you sell your home, and then they do a second closing, and then it goes back to the interest rate of that day. So you only pay an extra 2%, but it helps win deals so that you're not contingent.
Right. And so I'm glad you brought that up. And this is one of the things when it comes down to being in the business. How long you said you've been doing this? 15, 20 years?
Oh, I've been in finance for over 20 years.
Yeah. So having those options for sellers and buyers, and that's why they tell people to, oh man, it's gonna fly.
I saw that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's crazy. No, but no, when they tell you to contact realtors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And contact these professionals, because there's like so many different things. And if I were to sit here and say, oh, well, if you're in this situation, if you're in this situation, if you're in this situation, or in this situation, in this situation, there's like 16 different types of situations where there's always a program between a lender and there's just so much people don't know. So if you're watching this, please feel free to reach out to Candace Smith with Hallmark Mortgage. They're out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm not sure that I know anybody else that works there, to be honest. But if you have any mortgage needs, Candace is the one to go to. So I'm gonna let you wrap it up, and you're gonna wrap it.
Yeah, thank you. Yep. So again, Candace Smith, Hallmark Home Mortgage. I ever advertise myself as your mortgage advisor. I don't just do your loan. I stay with you for the life of the loan. What does that mean? Every year I reach out to you. We look at your mortgage statement, your annual statement, to see, hey, has your house appreciated? Could we get that mortgage insurance removed because you didn't put that 20% down? So when I say your mortgage advisor, I will look at all your total debt. Does it make sense to pay 20% on your credit card versus maybe wrapping it into your loan? So I touch base every 6 months to make sure you filed your homestead exemption. Are there additional exemptions you get? So it's not just a one and done, like a bank, you go in, you get your mortgage, and you never hear from them again. I'm with you for life. I try to get you advice on all things finance, including investments.
I love it. I love it. So, well, again, thank you so much for coming in, enjoying and sharing with us and providing us with your knowledge. And so good luck this weekend at the
Thank you.
Johnny Appleseed Fest. And I'll see you around. We'll see you at the next deal, okay?
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yep, no problem. Peace.